Straight line graphs presentation 3. In this presentation, we will be learning what is M and what is C in a straight line graph. Always a straight line graph takes the form of y equals to mx plus c. Look at this. An equation of a straight line graph is always y equals mx plus c. Look at this straight line graph over here. It has a slope. It has a slope. The slope, I have labeled it as m. And here there is a point which the graph cuts the y-axis over here. So I have labeled this point as C. Slope, I label it as M. The point which the graph cuts the y-axis, I call it as C. Look at this. M, we call it as the slope. In maths, we can call this as the gradient. So, M is the gradient of a straight line graph. C, I will call it as the cut for you to remember what is it. So, in maths, I will call it as the y-intercept. So, C is the point which the straight line graph intersects the y-axis. Okay, you can see in the screen M and C is highlighted because when you take a straight line graph, M the gradient, C the y-intercept is very important. So you can see the slope over corner here, the slope you call it as M, y-intercept that is you call it as C, the point which the graph cuts the y-axis. And always a straight line graph is y equals to mx plus c. Your question is, write down the equations of the lines with the gradients and the intercepts listed below. Here is a small table. The gradient m is given, y-intercept that c is given. So you have to join this m and c and you have to write the equation of each graph. I have done few for you. You can continue the rest. Look at the first one. That is y equals to 4x plus 2. How do I write this? I know this is the form of a graph. Y equals to mx plus c. I won't change y. So I have y equals to, instead of m, instead of the slope, instead of the gradient, I will write 4. So I have 4x plus, what is the y-intercept, which is c, that is 2 over here. So I will simply write y equals to 4x, which is mx plus 2. Look at the next one. That is y equals to gradient. The m is 5. So it's 5x. Y-intercept, which is c, is minus 2. So you have to write it as y equals to 5x minus 2. So I will skip few questions. I'll keep it for you and I'll do one more for you. That is y equals to gradient m is half. So I will write it as half x plus y-intercept is also half. So you write it as y equals to half x plus half. Okay, so in this slide, the straight line graph is given, which is y equals to mx plus c. You have to break down the m gradient and c the y-intercept and write it separately. So the first graph is y equals to 2x minus 3. So we know the value that is connected with x, that is 2, is the gradient, which is m. And the constant value which is minus 3, is the y-intercept, because the graph is y equals to mx plus c. Next one, it's y equals to 1x minus 8. If there is no value given, you can take it as 1. So we have y equals to 1x minus 8, which a straight line graph is y equals to mx. So what is m over here? It is 1, which is the gradient. Mx plus c. So plus c is, according to this question, is minus 8. So y-intercept here is minus 8. One more for you. That's the last one. That's y equals to minus 1x minus 3. So we know a straight line graph is y equals to mx. So m is the value with x. M is the coefficient with x actually. The value that is in front of this x. So that is minus 1. And it's plus c over here. Plus c over here is minus 3. So the y-intercept, which is c, is minus 3. So throughout these slides, I was emphasizing always a straight line graph is y equals to mx plus c. M is the gradient, which is the slope, plus c is the y-intercept. So let's complete this table. They have given some equations of straight line graphs. So you have to pick the gradient and the y-intercept. So the first one is 2y equals to 2x minus 3. I said you very clearly a graph is y equals to 2x a graph is y equals to mx plus c. So this is 2y equals to, not y equals to. So you have to remove the 2. How are you going to remove the 2? Use a bit of algebra. So you're going to divide every element, every term with 2. So you cancel off 2 and 2. And then again you can cancel off here 2 with 2 minus 3 over 2. So your answer is y equals to x minus 3 over 2 when you simplify this. Now it takes the form of y equals to mx plus c. Next graph is 1 over 4y equals to half x minus 3 over 2. You have to use algebra again. So you're going to pick 4 as the LCM and you multiply everything with 4 to cancel the denominators. So what do? I multiply 1 over 4y by 4 because 4 is the LCM of the denominators equals to half x multiplied by 4 minus 3 over 2 multiplied by 4. So what is the whole purpose of multiplying all these terms by 4 is to cancel the denominators. So the denominators will cancel off and the graph is easy to solve there. Is not actually solved. It's easy to simplify. So let's see, that is y equals to 2x minus 6. And the next one is 2y minus 3x is equal to 12. So we also have to turn this into the form of y equals to mx plus c. So you leave 2y as it is, take 3x to the other side. So that is 2y equals to 3x. It becomes plus 3x because minus 3x moved to the other side of the equation sign. So this to this way. So I will write it as plus 3x plus 12. So still now it is 2y equals to, it's not still y equals to. So I'm going to remove the 2 as I did in the first equation. So I divide everything by 2. So it turns up to y equals to 3 over 2 x plus 12 divided by 2. You get a whole number which is 6. So now I have done 3 sums picked from this table. I have used algebra and have arranged each equation to the form of y equals to mx plus c. Now look into this and you can fill the gradient and the y-intercept accordingly. So the first one, the gradient is 1. That is the first equation is this, right? This one, the gradient over here, the gradient is the value with x, because this graph is now y equals to mx plus c nature. So here the value over here is 1 and the y-intercept is minus 3 over 2. The next one, that is the third one I have done. Third one, I have rearranged it into the form of y equals to mx plus c. So my m is 2, that is the value with x, and my c, the y-intercept, is minus 6. And this is the one before the last, that is this equation, that is 2y minus 3x equals to 12. So I have arranged the graph into the form of y equals to 2mx plus c, and my m is the value with x, which is 3 over 2. So let me fill the table first. Okay, so that is 3 over 2, and this is c is 6. C is 6. You can do the rest. You can fill the other graphs. You can convert all these things into the form of y equals mx plus c and pick the value with x and the y-intercept as c. Nextly, we are going to learn how to find the gradient of a straight line which passes through 2 points. So 2 points means, if I simply say you 2 points in a coordinate plane, which is 6, 7, and the other point is minus 8, 0. So when you have 2 points and when you join the 2 points, you can have a straight line. So we are going to find the gradient, the slope of this straight line which you have drawn. So for this you have an equation. The equation is the gradient is equal to y2 minus y1. What do you mean by this y2 minus y1 is the difference between the two y coordinates divided by x2 minus x1. That means the difference between the two x coordinates. So let's work out this example. So the first coordinate is minus 8, 0 and the other coordinate is 6, 7. So firstly we look into the y coordinates, that is 7 minus 0. So the difference between the two y coordinates, this is one y coordinate and this is the other one. So I will start with 7, 7 minus 0. I divide it by this difference between the two x coordinates, that is 6 minus 8. Be careful here. 7 minus 0, yes. 6 minus 8, because you are finding the difference between the two y coordinates and the difference between the two x coordinates. 7 minus 0 is 7. 6 minus 8 is 14. So we have our answer as 1 over 2, which is half. So the slope, gradient, or m, all these things refer to the same, is equal to half. Please don't write it as 2. Some students, they just write it as 2. You forget that in the numerator you have 1, right? So this is not 2. This is half. Look at the next one. In this table, I have given some points, coordinates of 2 points. So you're going to find the gradient using the previous formula. So what's that equation? M equals to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Let's work it out, the first one. So I will start with 1. Here, y coordinate 1 minus 4 divided by 2 minus 3. So 1 minus 4, it's minus 3. 2 minus 3, it's minus 1. So your answer is minus 3 divided by minus 1, it's plus 3. So your gradient, the slope is plus 3. Look at the next one that I will do. 1 minus 4, 1 minus 4, that is minus 3. Then we have minus 2 minus 0. So we have minus 3 divided by minus 2, which is equal to plus 3 over 2. You don't have to write this as a decimal, no need. You can write it as a fraction, that is 3 over 2. But don't write it as a mixed fraction. Keep it as an improper fraction. Don't write it as a mixed fraction. You can keep it as 3 over 2, and if you want, it doesn't matter, you can write it as 1.5 as well. So the next one is, again, first you subtract the two y coordinates, then you subtract the two x coordinates. So we'll start with y. 1 minus minus 4. Look at this. It's 1 minus minus 4 divided by the x coordinate here is minus 2. So we're going to start minus 2 minus 3. That's minus 2 minus 3. So we have 5 divided by minus 5, which is equal to minus 1. One more for you, that is, again, we are finding the difference between the y coordinates over the difference between the x coordinates. Our equation is y2 minus y1. So let's see y2 minus y1, that is y2, it's 1 minus 5 divided by x2 minus x1. So we have x2 is minus 1 here, minus 1 minus 3. So it's minus 4 over minus 4, which is equal to plus 1. So here we practiced a bit of how to find the gradient of a straight line which passes through the given 2 points.